Speaker of the day is English also, and he's talking about Freelance 2.0, how the freelance economy is transforming from a transactional gig economy to the future of work. And he really knows what he's talking about because he's leading in the freelance economy for 10 years now, and his name is Matthew Mottola. He's the CEO of the Human Cloud. A warm welcome.
Thank you. So this is incredible. Absolutely, absolutely incredible. Over 500 freelancers coming just here. I've been in this space for 10 plus years. It's all I know. I like to say the only skill I have is freelance. And the fact that we're here is so, so, so incredible. Now, I promised my mom I wouldn't make this joke, but screw it, I'm going to do it. For me, this is actually coming home. About 3 generations ago, I was and I apologize for the language, bastard child of the Burglarmeister. So they stuck me on a boat, or my grandfather sent me to America. So I like to say I'm a little bit of a German Moses. Now, with that said, what I'm not too good at, I'm not good at being angry on a bike, and so I don't know if I'm going to fit in here, because we've got a lot of angry bikers here, is the first thing I've noticed. So, let's get into the talk. The good news, I'm going to give you a little rundown. The good news is that our space is growing insanely fast. I've been in this for 10 years. I have lots of gray hairs. It came from mostly the 5 to 10 years ago, not now. Yesterday, I was actually talking with the US Army about how to get the US Army up to speed on the freelance economy. We're doing really, really, really well. But the bad news is we are in the midst of a massive transformation that I call Freelance 2.0. And the reality is, not everyone's going to make it. So when we say Freelance 2.0, what we really mean is it's the stage when we stop saying freelance. Okay? You guys have no idea how excited I am for us to finally stop using a word. Now, what's going on here? It's okay. So, we're not reinventing a wheel when we say freelance, by the way. We're talking about an existing external talent ecosystem that is already over half of companies. And so let's look at a company like Microsoft, 150,000 employees. It's actually more like 300,000 because over half of these companies are external. And when we look at us and what we are a better way to do external talent. And I fervently believe that we're actually going to get to a place that we're 80% of work. Now, my challenge for you in the next 20 minutes, okay, is I want you to think beyond external talent, and I want you to think of us as a net new job creator. Not to get too technical, but we accelerate, we unlock, and we disrupt brand new business models. Now, the sad reality, and I wonder who here can relate to this, is I feel like I wake up every morning and I bang my head against the wall. And I go, this is the quarter. You know, this is the quarter we're going to unlock spend. We're finally going to become the reality. And it can feel like we're always one bang away from diamonds. Now, for an individual freelancer journey, the typical thing we say is feast and famine, right? Things are really, really good, looking up, you're making more money, you have the freedom and flexibility, then boom, you're burnt out, there's no work to be found, and there's no vacation or benefits policies. So you tell yourself, I'm going to have to sell out and go get a full-time job. Now, the industry as a whole, right? Because my vantage point is I get to see the whole industry, freelance platforms, companies, you name it. The industry as a whole is actually doing pretty neutral. And one of the themes you're going to see is I'm going to keep going through this good news, bad news, and I'm going to keep bringing up that it's nothing unique to us in terms of not doing well or doing neutral. The industry as a whole is doing pretty neutral for the past 9 months. So, without further ado, this is what we're going to hit on. And we're going to go through 40 slides. It's going to be pretty quick. We're going to go through good news, bad news. We're going to do history. We're going to do state of the freelance economy. We're going to hit on challenges. And then each one of you is going to have 3 tactical solutions to implement right now. Now, before I get rolling, I do want to get a little personal because the beauty of our space, and listen, I started in Silicon Valley, and people would act like we were this mission-driven space, right? We're changing the world. The reality is our space really is changing the world and really, really changing lives. Now, I'm going to give you two quick stories about my personal experience in freelance. So this was 2012. I was this young, fresh college intern. And I assumed, you get good grades, get a good job, you're fine. The first job I had was generating a grant that if I didn't get, 15 workers would be laid off. And that hit me. I was this tiny little intern, and I had the hands of 15 workers that might lose their job if I didn't get them a grant. So that was a big shock to the system. The second shock, though, and I promised my mom I wouldn't tell this one, but screw it. The last time I sold out, I assumed that, and I sold my last company, I assumed that, okay, I'm at the highest of job security, meaning you sell your company, you become the VP, you should be fine. We all got laid off in 28 days. And I say that not to kind of have this little sob, but to say that we need freelance. Freelancing is a better model to work, and individuals, us, we need it. So, real quick, good news, bad news. Who here knows John Cena? Anyone? No? Do you know what this is? You get a little bit of this? So, there's literally a movie called Freelance with John Cena as the main character. It's probably terrible, to be honest. And I think it came out a year ago. I haven't seen it. But it's pretty cool, right? It's pretty good news. Also, Harvard, if you want to get a little more professional, I know we're in Berlin. Let's not get too professional, but Harvard even talks about us. Now, let's look at stats, okay? Now we're going to get geeky. Our space and talent platforms, they have a 12.7 compound annual growth rate. What this means is we're doing pretty good. If you look at AI, it has a 28% compound annual growth rate. And if you look at the traditional alternatives, meaning agencies, consultancies, they're less than 5%. So we're doing pretty good. We're not too hypey. We're also definitely not bad. Second thing, industry confidence, really high. At least 85% of leaders over the past 12 months would say that they're positive about the future of our space. And the number's actually more like 90. Another piece of data, though, and I love this chart over here. Absolutely love this chart. There's 4.6 million freelancers in the US making over $100,000. And if you look at from 2020 to now, there's over a 90% growth in this category. That's insanely cool, right? Over $100,000. This isn't a side gig. This is their full sustainable income. Next thing, if you look at logos, you're going to see Mina over at Airbus. There's going to be lots of impressive logos that you're going to see. I can promise you 5 years ago, this wasn't the case. Now, bad news. First thing, we've been predicting stuff for a while. In 1997, we started talking about free agent nation. Obviously, we're not there yet. Second thing, as we told you before, business performance has been mostly neutral. Not good, not bad. Now, talking to a CEO last week, when things are good, we're good. When things are bad, we're actually pretty good. When things are neutral, people are holding, we don't do too well. That's the state we're in. And last, we're starting to get some pushback. So Nike CEO came out and said that, hey, remote innovation can't happen in a remote environment. I don't know what he would say about freelance, but I don't think it's too positive. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story. I had my bachelor party 2 weeks ago. My most employable friend, literally most employable friend, the kid that I always turned to and said, you are the best employee I've ever seen. He was unemployed, and he was laid off 2 times in the past 6 months. And so I say that to say, listen, overall, things aren't too good, but our space is actually weathering pretty well. And the last thing I'll show you is, I'm going to say this a lot, calm down. If you look at how industries change, if you look at how technology changes, it always goes through this hype cycle. Things are really good, you hit the trough, you have to figure out, are we going to get out of this? When you look at our space, we are right there. I think we're doing pretty good. Back to the diamond analogy, keep pounding our head. I think we're a couple quarters away. Now, the history. Unfortunately, my wife is here, so I have to go through this really quick. The reason I say that, I would love to spend the next 5 hours going through the history. If you look at my YouTube feed, it's all history. Who here, before I start this, who here has been in this for 2 years? 2? Okay. 5? 5? Okay, what about 10? We got, ooh, okay. Shoot, now I'm kind of nervous. All right, so there's been 4 waves that I would say. And it's been Wave 4 should pop up any second. OK, cool. So it goes all the way back to the late 1990s is actually when you start to see Elance and Odesk. 2016, you see the merger of Elance and Odesk into Upwork. 2020 is when COVID hit, obviously. I don't think we were ready at all. I was building a company in this space. If you said the word freelance, investors just threw you money. And now we're sitting in a place, I would call it wave 4, where, and you're going to see this, we're having to grow up, but we have this really, really, really robust ecosystem where we're actually 11 industries in one. And so that's going to make sense after we talk about the state of the industry. So, does anyone know what the middle income trap is? Has anyone heard this before? No? OK. So I was in China in 2016, meeting with professors and business executives. And they were all terrified of the same thing. And they kept saying this word, middle income trap, middle income trap, middle income trap. And I kept saying, what does that mean? What it means is every single economy goes through 3 stages. They start with the farm, they hit the factory, and if they make it, they get to knowledge work. The problem is, from here to here, things are starting to get pretty expensive. And if they can't get to knowledge work, things don't just stay stagnant, they actually decline. And so what everyone was terrified in China was, can we hit knowledge work? Can we create an Apple? Can we get to Huawei? Obviously, I think the answer is yes. But if we look at our industry, we're about here. And what I call this going through it, it's purely the messy middle. And the messy middle looks like this. Is anyone surprised? Does anyone know what these numbers are? Has anyone seen this in the news? OK, it's not too positive. So I'll start with the first one at Microsoft. When Microsoft was growing, when they were starting, employees had 2 options. Do you want to be part-time? Do you want to be full-time? Part-time equals a lot of cash. Full-time equals you get some equity. Microsoft goes public. The part-timers get pissed, find a bunch of lawyers, sue for $97 million. If you walk through the building right now and you say the word freelance, they freak out and they go, oh no, this is a permatemp lawsuit. Nike, as we speak, has over $500 million of classification risk. And last, the US Department of Labor is trying their hardest for freelancing to not be a thing because there's over $4 billion of lost taxes if everyone was freelance overnight. Now, what does this look like? You're going to meet John in a little bit. John has probably the best data on this. It means that companies care about compliance. They care about risk. It's not so much, are you going to do good work? It's, are you going to get them in trouble? What this also looks like from John's data, less than half of companies know how to work with us. So instead of really enjoying and knowing to work with us, they're focused on things like risk and compliance. And in response, this is going to get really geeky right here. And I promise you, this is the meat of the talk. In response, we've had to create this 4-figure industry, which you think freelance is, hey, let's just work with a client, right? Freelancer client, that's it. No, you need a platform in the middle. You need to have a compliance layer, and you need to even have a freelance management layer now. And the very tactical implications, 0 to 35% margin typically. But so, why in the world would clients go through hiring us, right? You're going to see, we're starting to get positive now, okay? Don't worry, that was the dampening has already happened. Short answers were that good. Long answer is, every single industry goes through this. For us, rather than farm to factory to knowledge work, it's going from transactional to strategic to disruptive. And when we look at sort of the market as a whole, transactional was Elance and Odesk, right? Upwork, we could say that. Now we're starting to see over 800 niche platforms. There's some incredible ones today. And in this messy middle, you're seeing a bunch of new type of industries pop up from this. And I come back to this, right? I'm going to constantly hammer you with this chart and say, calm down. Every single industry goes through this. Now, here's the meat of what I need to land to win large dollars in this space. And that is, there's this framework called the 3 horizon thinking. Each horizon goes from transactional to strategic to disruptive. We, meaning all of us, we need to get to disruptive. And this looks like clients are actively investing in us. We're part of a P&L. We're part of innovation. We're not just this one-off, fill a gap type resource. Now, what this looks like very tactically, $3 signs in the horizon 3. I would argue it's more like 8 to 10. It also looks like incredible clients. When's tax season here in Germany, by the way? Was it soon? Or because I'm going to give you in the US, we do this really stupid thing. Once a year, the government goes, hey, how much do you owe? We know, but we want you to do it yourself, and then we're probably going to tell you you need to owe us money. So we have this big industry in taxes, right? And everyone goes to usually a personal accountant in person. Now, Freelance, or TurboTax, was this fully online system. Thinking strategically about us, they have freelance experts within 30 seconds that are freelance tax accountants. That is the type of disruption that we can create, but we have to be really strategic and disruptive. We have to hit Horizon 3. Another one is MNC Saatchi. Everyone that starts is a freelancer. Other cool ones you'll hear from, you'll meet Mina at Airbus. They have Formula One designers doing custom graphics for airplanes. And I keep telling Mina, hurry up, because I don't want to fly in a Boeing. I don't know about y'all, the doors keep coming off. So, in terms of the work itself, this doesn't look like, hey, do a gig, right? That's execution. This looks like execution plus leadership plus scale. Leadership is we have to look like VPs. We have to look like directors. This is not a one-off gig. Now, where do we stand today? We've maxed out Horizon 1. If you look at platforms that are doing well, they're not in Horizon 1. They're in Horizon 2 and 3. If you look at ones that are not doing well, they're in Horizon 1. We've maxed that out. We're starting to see really good data in terms of how we're doing in Horizon 2, and we're just scratching the surface in Horizon 3. So, now we're going to get to the quick challenges. I need 3 volunteers. 3 brave volunteers. Who do we got? We got 1, okay. We got 2, okay. And then where's the 3rd? I'm just going to call someone, you, right there. Okay. Who's first? What is the word you would use for this space? What would you call it?
Brave.
Okay, brave. Hell yeah. Okay, you. Go with brave. Okay. Let's use a more descriptive term like independent workforce, fractional workforce, gig, something like that. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah. What about you? You want to say gig? Just say gig. Gig economy. Okay. So we're gonna hit on the 2 top challenges, and this is what's in my way every single day, and it's really painful. The first is definition. The only thing growing faster than our space is the words that we use to describe it. Gig, freelance, open talent, liquid workforce, 2016. We keep making terms. What we like to say, if the supply is self-employed, call it freelance. It's as simple as that. But, and you're gonna get back to why I had these volunteers. I like to say, whoever is paying can call us whatever the hell they want. The reason I say that, and the reason for this photo, when I started at Microsoft, we said the words remote and freelance, right? But then they kept saying, come to the office, come to the office. And I said, but there's this term called remote and freelance. How come we're not following it? They didn't get it. So I manually created a sprint board in front of my boss's office using sticky notes just to show them this is what freelance is. It's fine. And within 3 months, it worked. So the reason I called it you volunteers is because you all are getting t-shirts, because I don't care what you call it brave, call it gig, call it whatever. If someone's paying, then please, you are making my world a lot easier. So now, the last thing, mindset. Okay, there's 3 big things that we keep messing up with. The first is, we look very competitive. It looks like a giant game of Where's Waldo. There's 800 plus talent platforms. There's 400 million plus global freelancers. The reality is, there's a slice of pie for every single one of us. Everyone is doing such unique things. We are not a competitive industry, we're a collaborative industry. Next thing, leaders think that we are these digital nomads that don't want to grow up, that want to work on a beach, and want this freedom and flexibility because it's cute and the lifestyle, okay? There's this book called 4-Hour Workweek. If I could do one thing, if I go back in time, I would burn this book. It has really done a disservice to our industry. And the reason I say that is because you walk into the office of a burnt out, executive who's just trying to get his kids through college, the last thing they want to hear about is, wow, this person's working in Fiji. They're working in Bali. They can work whenever they want. Don't care. The reality is, we are just like them. We have families. We have kids. We all are burnt out executives, right? So please, no more of working on the beach. Next thing. And this one, I will give away a book. Who knows the definition of freelance? Where do we come from? Yes, over there. Yes, literally mercenaries, right? A knight would say, hey, I want some soldiers to go fight. Let's hit up some freelancers. People still think that. They still think we're one-off, we're transactional, we show up, we leave. Even worse, we show up, we steal a file, we send it to the press, and then we leave. It sounds crazy, but leaders do think this. What I challenge you all to think is that we're actually more like golden retrievers. We're stable, we're long-term, we're your best friends, and let's face it, if it's a good client, we're gonna want to work with them forever. The theme of that, I just want to show you a picture of my dog and another one of my dog, pre-getting neutered. So, okay, now, super quick, all right? There's 3 things each one of you needs to do before you leave this conference, maybe even right now. The first thing is to simplify. Whether you're asking for $1 million, $1, you name it, leaders have less than 12 seconds. You need to be very, very crystal clear about your elevator pitch. I'm X, I do Y, it results in A, B, and C. Simplify it. Second thing, I'm going to call this a little challenge. What this is saying, if you think about these 3 things, right? Let's try to get the brain going. This is actually the keys to winning work in Freelance 2.0. And I know it seems scattered, but it's going to make sense right now. You're allowed to specialize now. And you have to actually specialize. You have to be more than your exact skill. What this triangle is showing is one of my favorite freelance projects was, I can't say it publicly, unfortunately, the largest motorcycle manufacturer in the world. Building their mobile app. They had 37 different freelancers all across the world. And the people that won the work were not just developers. They were developers that were hobbyists in motorcycles, and because of that, they could do something like live in Japan. And that is you, right? The beauty of a freelance network. I know we haven't talked anything technical yet. All freelance is, it's a digital network. There's 0 processing cost to connect. You could connect with anyone in the globe. The good thing is there's an abundance of skills. The bad thing is you need to specialize. So you're not just a developer. You are whatever rabbit hole you want to go in. Last thing, okay, this is the last thing. Show of hands, who would say you're good at networking? Yeah? Is that it? God, you Germans are so, what's the word? You don't exaggerate? Because less than 40% of you are good at networking, based off the data, right? Based off John's data. I did have a joke, like if it was America, it would be like 80%, like, yeah, I'm good at networking. Like, no, you're not. Like, we're just Americans, we exaggerate. But so, networking is the third thing, and it's hyper crucial, very selfishly for 2 reasons. Clients need you to scale. They need you to do more. You need to be able to have people above you and below you to get more work done. They also need you to have a higher scope. And that means if you're a content writer, you don't just do articles. You need to handle the full content strategy. That might mean social. That might mean web. You need to go more than just your individual self, which sounds gross, but you do have to network. And the data is pretty clear. That's what we're not good at as freelancers. So now, putting this all together, okay? We're growing up. We are, if we want to be very boring, we're external talent, right? We're a better external talent. If we want to be ambitious, we unlock, we accelerate, and we disrupt brand new businesses. But we're in the messy middle. For the past 12 months, business performance has been neutral. And this messy middle is going from strategic to transactional to strategic to disruptive, right? And it is very, very, very painful. So remember the diamond. If you keep hitting your head, I swear we're a couple quarters away. Last thing, as a group, right? This is as a group, we need to hit Horizon 3. We need to go beyond, hey, plug a hole with a freelancer. That's not it. We are disruptive, right? We are the Apple of the workspace. And you, very, very quick, simplify, it'll open the door for you. Specialize, it'll win the work. Network, and it'll help you scale. On behalf of Luca, okay, John, myself, Human Cloud, I want to say thank you. And I want you to not clap because I want you to know, and this is very, very intentional, I had a feeling that you Germans loved beer. I'm just going to say it, okay? I had a hypothesis. I would change this now to being a bike and someone yelling, because every 5 seconds, someone's yelling on a bike. But so I want you to know, Luca also loves beer, and I would love to grab beer with y'all after. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Matthew. And of course, we have already some questions popped up.
Oh, no.
And if it's okay for you, we can just go through some of them. First of all, because you talked about the US market a lot, and there's the question, how does it compare to the Germany or Europe market?
Super quick, we're ahead. Quick answer. If we think about why, it's because in the US we have this thing called at-will employment. I can get fired any day as a full-time employee. There's no such thing as safety. So we've been quicker to adopt it. Around 33% of our workforce right now is freelance, estimated to be over half the workforce in the next 5 years. There's around 36 million freelancers right now. John, who's going to next, pick his brain on this. In terms of Germany, I think I would say it's between 2 and 3 years. The good news is you're way ahead other countries. So usually it goes US, UK, and Germany on the same plane. And so you're way, 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 way ahead. But from a US perspective, we got 33% of the market, so we're kind of ahead of you. But I want to make sure I do reference. The fact that we have at-will employment makes it much easier for the US economy to say, let's go freelance.
The second question is from Patrick. He's asking, how can I introduce the Freelance 2.0 mindset to German companies as a freelancer, because German companies tend to be conservative.
I've heard about that, yeah. I learned walking in the bike lane real quick, and then actually I went to cross the street, and my wife stopped me. I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh yeah, you guys like rules. I would say, listen, there's a business rule that's pretty simple. Profit and loss, you got to innovate. If you don't disrupt, someone else is going to disrupt you. I think freelance has come far enough that, remember the slide where I said it doesn't matter what the term is? Use whatever term they want. The reality is we're faster, we have higher quality, we have an abundance of skills, we're a digital-first supply chain of work. And so if companies, and companies are struggling, right? Like there's no doubt this is not a normal thing right now in them. But I would say that as we already exist, and I would make sure you tie it to something related to a P&L. So this is not just plugging a hole. This is something that is really tied to something revenue generating. I can't stress that enough. If you can get to that level, that's where the spend really unlocks.
Then there's the question, which are the best and the worst industries for freelancers at the moment in Germany or Europe in general?
It's a good question. If I wanted to take the easy way out, I would just say AI, right? AI freelancers. I don't think so. Based off the data we see, tech, consulting are usually the top two. There's kind of like this third layer where you do start to see marketing. And I think I want to make sure it's clear too, what's tough about the data is that this is usually coming from platforms. And so when you talk with individual freelancers, the ones that I've seen do best, they actually have a fractional lens, meaning they're coming in as the leader, right? They're coming in from some sort of executive level scope, and that's kind of, doesn't exactly have to do with the industry, but more has to do with the level that they're coming in at. So at a high level, tech and consulting, but I think that mostly has to do with the fact that they're owning the strategy and they're coming in as more of the executive level. And that doesn't mean you have to be 25 years experience. That just means that you have to be able to plan, create the strategy, and own the outcomes.
And the last one for now, I think. You were talking about the messy middle we're in right now, and Stefan wants to know how long will we be stuck in this messy middle?
What's up to y'all? Hurry up. No. What I'll say is this. 10 years ago, I wasn't saying we're a couple quarters away from getting through this. I think what's different about our industry is we're actually never going to look like we've gotten through it. We're kind of like a recession in that you don't know it till it's over. And what I mean by that is we're a very manual industry. So when I started talking with these large Fortune 500s back in 2016, they kept saying Uber, right? They were like, Uber for talent, Uber for talent. And then actually when I went to Singapore in 2020 to start a company, they started saying the same things. And actually I was in Saudi Arabia a couple months ago, and they're saying the same things of Uber for talent, Uber for talent, Uber for talent. And so our industry, people think it's going to look like Uber, right? And it's going to look like a tech company. But the reality is, like, even though we wear jeans and stuff and act like we're tech, we're not. We're still a professional service company. We still kind of are staffing. And so the growth, it's not as visible. And it usually happens at a per company level. And so you'll see a company goes from spending 100K to 100 million, but it's not going to be in the news, right? And so in terms of, if any, there's no way it's going to be in the news. So in terms of when are we going to get over this, all I can say is break it down to your individual business. Look at your individual metrics, get to 20K a month, get to 3 sustainable clients. That's what we should all be searching for. And as an industry, it's going to slowly happen. And if you look at our data, like, we have 12.8% compound annual growth rate. That's really awesome.
Thank you so much.